Good morning. Dr. Bridget Young from Baby Formula Expert here with a huge formula announcement. I am so excited to tell you that for the first time ever, there is a generic or store brand hypoallergenic formula. This is huge news. So until now, if your baby has been diagnosed with a cow's milk allergy or which is the main reason for hypoallergenic formulas, or there's some other reasons that babies get put on hypoallergenic formulas, usually some intense digestive issues, etc. So until now, there's only been three options in the United States, and those one from each of the three major brands, Similac, Alimentum, and Gerber. They're very expensive. They need to be expensive because it costs a lot to make them. But they can be an incredible financial burden on families who don't have the resources to pay for a very expensive formula if they're exclusively formula feeding. And very unfortunately, the vast majority of insurance companies do not cover these medical products. So I am so thrilled that we now have a generic brand. So the company Perrigo is actually a manufacturer that makes all of the store brand formulas that you know. And they just released a hypoallergenic formula. So if you don't see it on your shelves yet, you will soon. It's releasing in all 50 states. Walmart, Target, CVS, Kroger, all the companies that have their own brand of formula are going to have a hypoallergenic formula. You can definitely already buy it in Walmart and Target online. And of course, the price is significantly lower than the name brand. So today, I want to go over the ingredients. And I'm going to go over the ingredients in the context of the three major name brand formulas so that if you're using one of those, you can make an informed decision about whether or not a switch is appropriate for your family. Let's get started. So as a tiny bit of background, a hypoallergenic formula, the most important thing is the protein. I usually say the most important thing in any formula is the protein because it's most likely to cause a tolerance, but particularly for an allergy, any allergic reaction is actually an immune reaction to a protein. So the protein is particularly critical for a hypoallergenic formula because we don't want it to cause an allergic reaction. To be called a hypoallergenic formula in the United States, the protein has to be fully hydrolyzed. Then it has to go through additional clinical testing where they feed the formula to people with a known allergy to ensure that those people don't elicit an allergic response. So it's pretty dang powerfully tested, and you can see how that accumulates in the cost in the product. So this formula has gone through all of those regulations. The protein source is fully hydrolyzed casein. This is exactly the same as Nutramigen and Alimentum. In fact, if I can cut to the punch, let's compare it to Nutramigen first because it's pretty much identical. This is the store brand hypoallergenic is a store brand of Nutramigen. So the protein source is identical, the carbohydrate source is identical, the fat source is identical. So that's 98% of the ingredients. From what I can tell, the only difference between Nutramigen, which is Nutramigen LGG, and the store brand is the LGG, which stands for Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG. It's a very specific type of probiotic that you do get in Nutramigen that you do not get in the store brand. The store brand does not have a probiotic. However, I will point out that you can buy Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG, it's a mouthful, the probiotic. You can buy it as drops over the counter, marketed as an infant supplement. So there's a couple companies that make them. I have not researched them all. I just know off the top of my head that Culturelle, which is a pretty big baby probiotic company, does have a Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG probiotic supplement that comes in drops that you can add to the bottle. It's their baby, I have notes down here, their baby calm and comfort supplement by Culturelle is the exact same strain that's in Nutramigen LGG. So if you want to keep it super identical and you're on Nutramigen but need to save your family some money, switching to the hypoallergenic store brand and incorporating the probiotic is probably a great way to do that. All right, let's compare it to Alimentum. So Alimentum has the exact same protein source, fully hydrolyzed casein. It mostly has the exact same carbohydrate source. All hypoallergenic formulas in the US are lactose free. Alimentum's a funky hypoallergenic because it has a powder and ready to feed, and the difference between those two is the carbohydrate source. The ready to feed is completely corn free, so it has no corn syrup solids. It uses different non-lactose carbohydrates. So that's a difference between the hypoallergenic powder and the Alimentum ready to feed. Hypoalimentum powder is like pretty much the same thing in the carbohydrate as the hypoallergenic. So like, honestly, I'm like, it's fine. Again, I'm very, very interested in the protein source if your baby has an allergy, and the fat and the carbohydrate, while absolutely matter, don't matter anywhere near as much because they're not going to cause your baby to have an allergic reaction. So the major difference, in my opinion, between Alimentum and the hypoallergenic is in the fat source. The new hypoallergenic formula, similar to Nutramigen, uses palm oil, whereas Alimentum does not use palm oil at all, and it also uses medium chain triglycerides as part of the fat component. Again, these things don't have anything related to allergy. The reason one of those fat blends may be preferred over another is because palm oil can cause the stool to be more firm, which can lead to constipation in kiddos who are really prone to constipation. If that's not you, don't worry about it. Put it out of your mind. And similarly, medium chain triglycerides, you really only see them in hypoallergenic formulas and in preemie formulas. They're absorbed very passively in the intestine. The baby doesn't have to exert calories to absorb them. And so you see them in some specialty products for kids that may perhaps have trouble growing, have trouble absorbing nutrients, which again is why you see them in preemie baby formulas, and why I think some companies put them in hypoallergenic formulas for the case of the child who's put on a hypoallergenic formula for severe digestive issues, as opposed to an allergy. So I'm going to give you my punchline for the store brand hypoallergenic formula is if your baby's a healthy term baby who may have an allergy, but otherwise doing great, they're probably going to transition totally fine. And this is a fantastic choice. Of course, always talk with your doctor before you make a formula change, so that you understand what's going to change in the formula. But again, for the otherwise healthy baby, this is such a fantastic option to have available. All right, lastly, let's compare it to the Gerber hypoallergenic formula, which is called Gerber HA for hypoallergenic. So Gerber's formula is a little different. They use a fully hydrolyzed whey source, whereas the store brand hypoallergenic is fully hydrolyzed casein. Now, I normally talk a lot about how whey and casein are so different, etc., and they are, but that's the starting whey and the starting casein, and in fully hydrolyzed, it's broken up into tiny, 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 tiny pieces of protein. So there may be a few small differences in those tiny pieces left over between the broken down whey and the broken down casein, but they won't cause an allergic reaction. That's what they've been tested to know, that in 90% of babies who have an allergy, this won't elicit an allergic response. So even if your baby's on Gerber HA, as long as your doctor's okay with it, you can totally trial the new hypoallergenic formula because it's tested to not cause an allergy. But it is a difference that I just want you to be aware of. Let's look at my notes here. The Gerber HA, the carbohydrate source is pretty much the same. They're both lactose free, both have corn-based ingredients, which again is not top on my mind. Top on my mind for a kid with an allergy is for sure the protein source. And then for reference, the fat source. The Gerber hypoallergenic is very similar to the Similac hypoallergenic, where it does not use palm oil. It does use medium chain triglycerides, so a fat blend kind of targeted for that kid who we really need to maximize perhaps nutrient absorption and growth. So that is very different between the store brand hypoallergenic, which uses palm oil and no medium chain triglycerides. But again, if that's not something your doctor's concerned about, then it's not something you need to worry about. All the other major infant formulas, partially hydrolyzed standard formulas, they don't use medium chain triglycerides, and most of them do use palm oil. For a healthy baby, those aren't dangerous or bad things at all. So it's really only in special circumstances that your doctor would want to speak with you about. So in general, make sure I didn't miss anything else. Yeah, in general, I am so thrilled to have this option available. I've worked with so many families who their child medically needs a hypoallergenic formula. And of course, a family will do anything to give their child what they need, but it can be a big financial burden on a family with limited resources. And so having this available, all my WIC families, if you're listening, if you are on a hypoallergenic that you're getting through WIC at the end of the month, or if you're running out, if if your WIC, provision runs out, this is definitely the store brand that you want to be using. If your child needs a hypoallergenic, you can't just give them anything else. You know this. So this is going to be a fantastic option for all those families, which I'm just so thrilled. I'm just so thrilled to have it readily available. In my next life, I'll tackle on why aren't insurance companies covering that? You guys can all get on board with me when I find some more free time to tackle that. In the meantime, I'm so happy for families to have this more affordable option available. As always, talk to your doctor before switching and switch slowly if possible. If not, if you need to feed your baby, and they're probably going to do just absolutely fine switching. So I'm thrilled. If you have a question about the new hypoallergenic formula that I might be able to answer, drop it in and I'll get to it. Also, I am hosting a workshop tonight with Melissa from Pump Mama Pump that you have got to get in on. Tickets are only $25, and if I'm charging money, it's going to be really, really good. Where this is specifically going to be helpful for parents who are both breastfeeding and formula feeding. If you're exclusively formula feeding, it's still going to be very helpful. We're going to talk about safe formula prep, storage, how to read a label and select ingredients based on your baby's characteristics, but we're also going to be focusing on best practices for how to provide both formula and breast milk together if you're doing both in your baby's diet, which is actually the vast majority of babies at some point in their life. So I will drop the link in the comments. For sure, sign up because we're also doing a live Q&A and I can't wait to hang out with you. You guys have a fantastic day. Mwah!